We're going to jump right back in because we still have 5 presentations to go. And there are some honorable mentions that everyone will be able to see when we break next out in the break area there. So we still got a bunch to do. Our next speaker is Belinda Liu, who is a former Teach for America teacher, China Fulbright scholar, Harvard Grad School of Education alum, and startup Chile entrepreneur. That's a lot of stuff. And has created something called Teach Yourself, which is a Bay Area startup now, focused on technology for helping communities develop inner purpose, passion, and well-being. And Belinda will present something called Compassionate Circles, connecting through self-exploration, shared purpose, and passion. So Belinda, the stage is yours.
I feel like it's a tough time right now. We're getting sleepy, and there's been a lot of talk. So I'll try to tap into your mood today and just be mellow, but also entertaining. So I'm Belinda Liu, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Tech Yourself. And I wanted to start today by sharing a personal confession, actually. I am a closet superhero fanatic. I spent all Thanksgiving watching reruns of Gem and the Holograms and The Bionic Six. So why am I a superhero fanatic? Well, actually, it's kind of a sad story. When I first immigrated to the United States, I was 5 years old. My sister and I went to elementary school in the US in Pennsylvania, a small town. And we hated going to school every morning because we got made fun of because we were different. And we didn't speak the language. And so school is kind of hard for us. And actually what got me through the day was when I was waiting for the school bus, I would pretend that I had bionic powers, and my sister and I would turn on our bionic powers, and that would give us the personal strength and courage to have another day, to try to be successful, and actually be kind to the kids that bullied us, to have that compassion. So I guess the frame that I want to put for this presentation today is around superheroes, because I think they are the best teachers of compassion. They fight for a passion and a purpose. They work great in a team for social good. And oftentimes they're misfits of society. There's a lot of personal struggle that they have to overcome to understand themselves in a way that lets them access their strengths. And they don't ever quite give up. You think, oh God, this is the last challenge. This superhero is just going to give up, but they never give up. And I think they are actually our best teachers of resilience and compassion. So I want to start today by having everybody close their eyes and remember the 5-year-old you, the you in elementary school, kind of awkward and silly, and think about that superhero that inspired you to be your best self, the self that was good to yourself and good to other people. So it could be a superhero like in the cartoons, or it could be somebody in your real life who was a real hero to you. So take a moment and clear some space in your head for that person. All right, now let's get back to how this all connects. So what problem are we addressing? I mean, I don't want to be repetitive because I think this crowd gets it. I think technology actually has the potential to give us amazing superpowers. It does. When I went to college, I remember email was starting to happen, and I couldn't imagine being able to communicate quickly with somebody from Europe, and I was still writing letters, and now it's like a second. I could just use Facebook. So we have a lot of power in that technology. So the question is, how can we use it in inspired and meaningful ways? And I feel like a lot of us, and me personally, I struggle. It's still a struggle every day to wake up with feeling a sense of purpose, feeling inspired and hopeful about the possibilities and what I can contribute, and to really feel a true connection to people, even if I'm far away from them. So that's really kind of the question that we want to tackle in our solution. So I want to talk a little bit about how we got here, where we started. I feel like self-awareness, like a lot of the researchers said, is critical in this journey of self-transformation. And so we started with that. We created a self-awareness tool. It was an iPhone app called Your Well that we launched in March of 2013. And really the purpose of the app was to allow people to be reflective and be curious about their well-being. What are the things that I'm doing every day of my life, and how does that contribute to how I feel every day? So we wanted a way for people to choose around different areas around their physical health, their social health, their emotional health, their spiritual health, and to be able to see kind of how are those things connected and how are they growing over time? What are the things that are actually related to how I feel every day? And we also wanted a way for people to share with each other, hey, this is really what's going on. I'm having a bad day today because of something at work, or I don't feel connected to people. So that's really where we started from, and we learned a lot from actually this wellness experiment. So here's what we learned. It's really hard to be self-aware, yet it's incredibly important. And it's not super fun to do. I mean, especially the way we tried to do it with the self-tracking. The last presenter was talking about how, you drop off after a week. It's true, it's hard. We found that structures is very necessary. With our tracking app, we didn't have a bound time for it, so that's really critical. We also found that it's important, we gave people too many options. There were 50 things that they could track. And we also found that inspiration from social influencers or inspirers or friends, it's actually really important to help with mindfulness. So where we're heading now is actually the idea of compassion circles. A space for you to cultivate that inner superhero, the 5-year-old you who was hopeful about the future, and to connect with others around a shared purpose to specifically bring compassion to the world. So that's really the shared purpose that we are all here today for, and that's kind of what we want to bring with the compassion circles. So the unmet need that I feel like we're trying to bring to the world is really a way for you to discover and cultivate some of those inner strengths. So your superpowers that you might know are there, or maybe you're still discovering those things. We want to do that through self-reflection, and we want to do that through data. I think there's a lot of value in data. And also to connect in the non-Facebook kind of way, like in a smaller way, in a way that it's 5 or 6 of your friends or people that you want to stay connected to, and really talk about some meaningful things around what you're doing every day to bring compassion to yourself and others. So we actually want to bring an element of fun to this, where we give people daily acts of compassion that they can do together and reflect on. So what's this going to look like? Well, imagine that you are imagine that superhero that you were imagining, the one in your real life or the one from the cartoons that you watched. And you wake up in the morning and you get a text message, or maybe it's an app push notification, or maybe it's a phone call. And the message says, hey, today, you have a compassion mission. Your mission today is to make someone smile, and make someone smile for the next 5 days. So we want you to wake up with that sense of hope for the day. And then you'll have a chance to maybe even imagine your superhero persona. Okay, what am I going to wear today if I'm going to be Wonder Woman? And really get ready for that compassionate act. And based on that day, you have a chance to be a solo superhero. I just want to be alone and do this compassionate act. Or maybe you want to find your 5 superhero teammates to join you in this compassion mission. And so, you go about your day with this idea in mind of what am I going to do today to make someone smile? And then at the end of the day, you have a chance to really reflect on how that went, and share that with the people around you, and just get some insights on that. This is kind of the experience that we want to create for people that we didn't do through our wellness app when we tried. So how is this different from everything else that's out there? Well, I think that there's a lot of great opportunities. Actually, there's so many people here that I want to collaborate with after hearing about your great work. So right now, again, we have the technology that provides the tools for us to really leverage our strengths, our superhero strengths. We've got mobile technology, the web, social networks. We've got mindfulness, content, practices, and inspiration. We have great data and analytics that we could actually bring to the individual to help them improve their lives versus it just being for companies to get profits. And we can also infuse a bit of gaming into the process to make this actually fun and delightful for people. So we really want to hit that superhero sweet spot so that we can combine the best of all of these worlds into a solution that really makes people feel connected and a sense of purpose around compassion. So right now we're actually based in Santiago, Chile. We got $40,000 startup funding to incubate our idea. And by May, we really want to be able to have a working prototype that we can do with groups. We're thinking that we actually want to tackle working with teens and college-age kids, because actually I feel like this is the antidote to things like bullying. It's how do you help people figure out how to connect with each other in meaningful ways and be supportive and really think about compassion in your daily life. We also want to enlist the community, so artists, designers, compassion gurus, everybody in this room to help us create some compelling acts of compassion that would really get people excited to wake up in the morning and do together. I just want to share, why Arlene is my co-founder. Why are we the team to do it? Well, we know our strengths. We love reflection. We love data. We've also worked with people and built products around self-reflection that have changed people's lives and helped them be better people. We know that we also need to work with academics and engineers and people from the community to actually make this possible. So I want to leave with you all with a mission for you today. All the people that you've met. Well, your mission is for the next 5 days. Treat somebody like an old friend. Then that's a quote from the Dalai Lama, and we thought that would kind of be a nice mission for the group today. So please feel free to contact us. It'll come up in just a second. And share with us. We'd love to hear that. Over email, over Twitter, the hashtag is Compassion Mission. So we're actually testing this idea with you all today. So thank you.
So I think I love the energy and the idea, and I'm just trying to get a little better understanding of the specifics. So is there anything you can kind of offer that kind of gets to the kind of some more of the nitty-gritty?
Yes, great question. So we know that for sure it's going to be one option is going to definitely manifest in terms of an application that you get push notifications with the compassion missions. There's a way for you to kind of dress yourself up like the superhero persona and to be able to share through the app and also be able to get some data back. So kind of like the Your Well app, how it kind of gives you kind of some insights into, okay, so today, how did you feel about this mission? So looking at your mood over time or the narrative that you create with these daily acts of compassion. The reason why we're a little ambiguous about the technology right now is because I think something what Arturo said today, we want to think about how do people live and then how do we integrate the technology in a seamless way. So I don't want people to have to feel like, okay, I have to download this app in order to have this experience. I actually want to experiment with different modalities. So text messaging being an option as well for people to get the compassion challenges and then also to be able to input their data that way as well. But that's the general idea. For sure, we'll create an app and then think about different ways to engage people if they don't have access.
Great. Thank you, Belinda, very much. So our next presenter is Isabel Oshner, who is a PhD student in sociology at London School of Economics, bachelor's and master's at Lancaster University, and worked at Adidas and Siemens, and affiliated with Rotary International and some service above self programs. And today is going to talk to us about Ultrabox, Taming Altruism. So Isabel.
I'm Isabel 2.0.
Right, as you can see, we have 2 team members. We're a team, so we thought we'd bring another one along. Right, 316, what does this mean? Well, if we add 9 zeros to this number, we get $316 billion of charitable donations in the United States in 2012, which sounds like a lot. at first sight. But when we put it in relation to the GDP of the United States in 2012, it only comes out to about 2% of the GDP, which isn't that much anymore when you really think about it. Another number like this is 64 million people in the United States who have volunteered in 2011. And again, it's a big number, you think. Then you look at the overall population in the United States, it's only about 20.5%, or not even a quarter. So what is the message here? It's that people are obviously willing to donate money and time to charitable causes, but there's a lot of room for improvement. Really, it's only a very small part of the population that is already doing this, and we wonder why is that? Because we think altruism is hard, and we really think that we can make it easy. That's what we're trying to do with Ultrabox. We're trying to tame altruism. And Joe's going to tell you more about how we're going to do it.
Thanks, Isabel. Hi, everybody. So, have a look at that. You may be familiar with this. It's a YouTube meme. I knew it as cat, rat, dog. And I first saw it when a friend of mine sent me a link to it to cheer me up because I'd been dumped by my girlfriend. And I mean, it didn't make that much of a difference, but I enjoyed looking at it. So, the idea here is a man has, these are his animals. He owns a cat, a rat, and a dog. And what is it with rat allegories today? I mean, there was one earlier, and there was also the cat that somebody used, so it's come up a few times. Anyway, they grew up together and they became friends, and now they'll quite happily sit on top of each other. And their owner, he kind of sees this as an argument for why world peace is achievable. Now, for us, this is something of an anti-pattern for what we're actually talking about. It's an anti-pattern because here we see how the animal's natural instincts, particularly those of the cat, which is really a killing machine, have somehow been suppressed. They've been trained out of the animals. And that's in contrast to human beings, who which kind of goes against all of the other presentations in some way, but we believe there's a strong tacit understanding in all people to kind of care for one another and to be altruistic. And this is a trait that's allowed us to become the dominant species on the planet. All of that is founded on altruistic principles. Now, I had a complex kind of argument about capitalism and modernity and why even those things are driven by altruism on some level, but I'm going to leave that in hindsight. I'm going to leave that. So what are we pitching to you today? We're pitching Ultrabox. Ultrabox is a concept at this stage, but the concept is for software as a service. It builds on the core premise that is represented in our blue box here, really that the world has underutilized resources. Now, these resources can be literally anything, ranging from capital, as in your bank balance, through to material goods, for instance, an old cell phone or a laptop or last season's dresses, which is, for me, not Isabel, of course. And even underutilized human resources. So the wisdom, the skills, the knowledge that everybody has some of. So we've established that there's spare stuff in the world. And the other thing that's kind of obvious is that there's people that could benefit from this stuff, whether it's in this country or in Isabel's country, my country, or anywhere in the world. Just a couple of examples of what these things could be. We could have Jim, who's a retired teacher. He'd be very happy to help out some kids in Delhi with their homework, but has no idea how to reach them. It could be somebody else who has a couple of Nokia 3210s, I think probably the best mobile phone ever made. They're of no value to that person anymore because they have their iPhone 5. Whereas Michael and Thomas in Mozambique can probably triple their daily income by using the phone to contact the local village to see what the trade opportunities are. Maybe even Satya, who has an ancient recipe for tarka dal, and it's never been outside of India. He'd love to share it with Charlotte, who's a teacher at a local catering college, but has no mechanism to do that. The possibilities are endless. So to give you a little bit more of an idea of what we're talking about, what we're really saying is we want to use proven, fairly simple web technologies. We could say Web 2.0, 3.0, whatever you want to call it, but involving rating mechanisms, matching mechanisms, filtering, reputation systems, all wrapped up in a very nice UI, along with best-in-class scalable cloud computing infrastructure. Using that, Ultrabox can address the problem of resource allocation, capitalize and use the tacit understanding of altruism, and bring those things together with efficacy. The key point here, James actually touched on earlier, is that science, technology, and compassion itself can't do anything for you. It can't give you a hug. Ultrabox can't do that either, but it can broker the deal between the person that needs the hug and the person who's willing to give it. So back to Isabel, thank you.
All right. So now, so what's out there already is the next question. Well, when we look at, for example, Kickstarter, crowdsourcing platforms, we can see people are already giving money to causes they want to support. Kickstarter is a very good example because they have managed to raise more than $900 million since they started trading in 2009, and most of it was actually in the year in 2012 to now. So this is really a growing thing, and so it's capital, and we're also going to do that with Ultrabox. That's one of our elements we're thinking about. Next one is HR, human resources. The example here, for example, Winspired is UK-based. It's a platform where people can volunteer, they want to volunteer, and then they're matched with a volunteering opportunity that meets their requirements. And again, it's giving your time up or your skills or your knowledge. And again, Ultrabox is trying to do that as well. So the next one is objects. FreeCycle is a good example here. I'm sure everybody knows it. It's been a huge success worldwide. It has members in 85 countries worldwide with more than 6.6 million people. And people are they really want to give their objects away that they don't need anymore, but someone else might. Again, Ultrabox is trying to do this as well. So what is really differentiating here is that we are building a meta platform for all of these opportunities that are out there already to make it easy for people. They don't have to find the platform that really matches their need because there's one that does it all. So that's the vision. And the development plan, as we pointed out earlier, we're still very early in the process, and we've had a prototype at Lancaster University with a small group of people, about 50 people, using an offline prototype, and we've had very good feedback. And the next stage, and where the CCARE competition funding would come in, is funding a online prototype that we could launch to public and develop further. So most of the money would go towards the development of the platform and also towards getting our message across, getting it out there, what we're trying to do. So our final goal is being a self-sustained and self-funded social enterprise with a triangulated model of funding. We're hoping to use donations like Wikipedia, for example, as one source of funding, but also we want to do use a freemium model where people can have a premium account with us where they can be verified and people know. It's about building up trust about who people are, so it eliminates a lot of the risks that come with a platform like this, and then some advertising. And now about the team. Well, you heard about me. I'm Isabel. I'm from Germany. You might not have guessed that yet, so I'm from Germany, and I'm studying for a PhD in sociology at the LSE. And Joe is from Lancaster, where I've met him.
Yeah, well, we studied together last year, and we did actually have a couple of videos of the other team members, but I think we're going to run out of time, so we'll leave those. I think the point here that I want to get across is that we're a multidisciplinary team, and the idea came out of hours and hours and hours of wrangling from different angles over all kinds of different ideas. But the strength is in that multidisciplinarity, really. Isabel's a scholar of management. I've worked in computing, studied arts, worked in the health service. Now I'm doing a digital economy PhD with Dhruv and Paul. Paul's worked all over the world for the UN and various other NGOs. And Dhruv is a ethnographer, design ethnographer, having worked in Africa for companies such as Nokia and so on. So that is one of our core strengths, is the multidisciplinarity of the team, if I can get my words out. And we're really looking to take this to the next step and use that. So thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, I love the energy and the aspiration. Amazon, when they first started with books in a single niche, and now is a very, a platform where you can find so much on it. eBay started with Beanie Babies and collectibles, and now you can buy an automobile. What niche would you want to find traction in? Are you going to focus on first in order to just get users to your website, in order to get that traction going?
Do you want to answer?
I'll have a go at answering it.
Okay.
It's a very good question. I mean, that I think is probably going to be one of the biggest challenges for us if we are to take this forward. I would add first that I actually thought of those examples of eBay and Amazon and other such startups. I mean, they haven't done anything particularly technologically innovative or anything like that. And we're not proposing to do anything that's brand new, other than our USP is that you can do altruistically give or take literally anything on this platform. So in some ways, as I'm going to say, I don't know the answer to the question, but the thing I would like to leverage is that key fact that nobody else has set out to create a universal sharing platform, especially not one that's not based on profit. So that's kind of my answer to it. Isabel, if you want to add anything.
Yes. Well, we thought about an initial target market, and obviously most people who are using these kind of platforms are the younger generation, so this is where we would start out initially, and we were thinking to follow similar to what Facebook did, using universities as a start to get people in universities involved. Obviously, we are from two different ones, and then we have Stanford here, so there would be 3 already. And then from there, we could build on other networks, and this would be a starting point, really. Yeah.
Great. Isabel and Joe, thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
So next we have Amy Prosek, who's a PhD student in the School of Nursing at University of Minnesota and is focused on integrative health. Also has a master's in holistic health studies and health journalism. And this project she'll talk to us about was originally supported by her being selected as a Dalai Lama Fellow. And the project's called Compassionate E-Wellness Adventure. So Amy, please.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Amy, founder of Sherman Project. I'm so thankful to be here to have the opportunity to share with you a little bit about my obsession, and it's Sherman. So Sherman Project is a 7-week web-based wellness program. The program has been influenced by such interventions as MBSR, mind-body skills, CCT, and it's theoretically sound. So it's primarily grounded by a really fantastic model called intentional systemic mindfulness, proposed by Shauna Shapiro and Gary Schwartz. It's kind of the primary model that moves from, or that the program moves from. And in January, I'll be testing the effectiveness of Sherman in a the effectiveness of the web-based program through a randomized controlled pilot with 450 participants. That's a lot of people to finish up my dissertation, so let's hope that goes well. And the future goal of Sherman is to then segment and tailor the intervention for other populations, such as returning soldiers, high school age students, specific corporate environments. And now, as a scientist, I'm really tempted to just dig into the theory and stats that serve to support the program and demonstrate its need. But maybe some of you can relate to this, as I've been told at social situations, that's like not super exciting stuff, and you get that blank stare. This crew, I think, is a little different, but nonetheless, I think I'll spend more time telling you why I'm so obsessed about this program and the idea of compassion and action interventions. A little bit about how technology is used to support the mission, and then some of the primary features of the program. Oh, that little bugger. This? Yeah. Okay. So, if you're wondering who Sherman is, this is Shermy, as I like to call him or her. Lives in Sequoia National Park. Sherman is grounded, present, evokes a deep sense of peace. And I think trees make really good teachers. John Henry Jowett said, "May my life be like a great hospitable tree, and may weary wanderers find in me rest." And of course, Emerson, "The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn." I believe that's how powerful you are, all of us. That's how much your compassionate self-care, your thoughts, your behaviors mean to this world. Your actions have exponential repercussions, and we just dug into the goodies of that this morning and early afternoon. Yeah, so every tiny positive effort of self-care, every word and action that you make is a powerful contribution toward the positive growth and healing of our world. And though I think a lush, peaceful, brewing with life forest can offer you the best connection, I also think innovative and compassionate technologies can help us to expand our healing potentials. We can create a digital forest of sorts, and great ideas and collaboration and connection. We're certainly called to be here. These tremendous connections and access to transformative practices and information is really powerful. Technology can help to make these wellness tools more relatable and enable more equitable access to these resources. And that's really what Sherman Project aims to offer: accessible tools, techniques, knowledge, support to promote your well-being in deep and meaningful ways so that you can serve this world in deep and meaningful ways. And now this accessibility was tremendously important to me in the development of Sherman Project. So when I was struggling with chronic stress, depression, and anxiety, I desperately searched for integrative wellness tools that I could afford, were effective, and were relevant to me. Woo, all right. Woo, I had been dismissed by and priced out of a lot of conventional options. This is so great. It was way easier, I'll just say, to buy booze as an underage student than it was to find compassionate well-being resources, right? Not okay. So I went on a mission. And for a full decade, I've been working on this. I wish this conference would have been a decade ago. I think it could have saved me probably a good 9.5 years. But I'm really happy to say that Sherman exists and that it is less than 1/10 of the cost of most comparable programs, in-person programs. It's sustainable, totally scalable, empowering, relevant, and it's fun. So you're probably wondering now at this point, what on earth do you do in this program? So every week of the program, you are prompted by an email reminding you to visit your private dashboard page for new content. And this is kind of where a lot of e-health, the ones that have been tested for effectiveness, kind of stop, really on that sort of just text-based communication. But with Sherman Project, every week you practice techniques that help you embody compassion, qualities of compassion, and concepts central to intentional systemic mindfulness. So these are qualities like compassion, of course, balance, acceptance, mindfulness, and actually the qualities of compassion and interconnectedness are carried through the full 7 weeks of the program, and that's guided by the model, intentional systemic mindfulness. And so you embody these qualities through everyday health-promoting activities. So the idea is not to just sit and ponder, but to instead bring in to every cell of your body these qualities at all times of the day. So you move more balanced, breathe with acceptance, mindfully eat, communicate and reflect with the knowledge of your interconnectedness, which is really sort of the subtle qualities that we've been discussing. that are primary to our entire being, sort of how we're primed to operate. So in many ways, Sherman Project helps you to uncover these qualities and then amplify them. So probably the most, see if this works. Oh, no. The most popular tool of the program is the meticulously created breath and movement series. This is a video and you would see me going back and forth, but no need, you can imagine. Which aims to not only improve strength, this particular segment of the program, endurance and flexibility, but to help you move and breathe with these qualities of compassion. And actually, this series is primarily informed by polyvagal theory. And the program also includes short audio meditations, mainly incorporating muscle engagement and relaxation techniques to help bring you back to the present moment, saturate these qualities into your entire system, and release areas of muscle tension. A nutritional guide also helps you to practice the entire process of mindful and compassionate gastronomy. So that's like everything from food sources and selection, cooking, eating, digestion, all the good stuff. We'll keep moving here. And then the social integration and reflective practices. So the private forum and blog, the social media spaces allow you to interact, share your wisdom with the community, and ask questions. This is really where our community will come together and where the beta testers had a lot of fun. You also have the opportunity to dig into these qualities of compassion through your private online journal. And actually now after beta testing, we've started a phase 2 design, which includes enhancement of the journal, mainly to increase program engagement and utilization, ultimately health-related outcomes. And this enhancement will incorporate a daily text message that prompts you to take a picture of that week's quality in your everyday life. So if we're digging into the quality of balance, you might take a picture of left side on Monday, and Tuesday, this is my dog Bacon. He's a good example of equanimity, I think, and balance, as dogs are. These pictures are automatically uploaded to your online mural, and this mural serves as a map of your 7-week adventure and a reminder of how these qualities express themselves in the world around you. Also your own embodiment of these qualities, and also where you might want to contribute more of these qualities to people or places that are in need, a sort of compassion and action roadmap, so to say. So that's the short and sweet biography of Sherman, and fast biography of Sherman. Everybody wants to sign up? Okay, because an initiative like this takes a forest, a lot of acorns, a lot of trees. These are just some of the amazing acorns that have contributed volunteered their amazing wisdom and consult to the program, everything from conceptualization to beta testing and now beyond. Amazing organizations and people. And as I said before, the 7-week program is currently going through redevelopment and initial stages of the pilot study and will be available after the new year, a little dependent on funding. And you can currently find us on the Facebook page, Sherman Project. And I truly encourage all of you to visit Sherman Project, join our community as we engage in compassionate wellness, this compassionate wellness adventure, and at the same time create the most connected and fantastic digital forest for optimal well-being. Thanks.
Sorry. I'm like, it's a bell. So, in your thoughts, how have you thought about integrating community? Right, because a lot of these processes end up being about the self. But I think it's sometimes through others that we are able to navigate them successfully.
Yeah, so a big part of that was the inclusion of the social spaces, the forum. So there's sort of the creation of the digital community. And there is a big piece of this that wants to honor anonymity in this space. And I should also note that this is very much a first step in a step care model. This is not a replacement for in-person therapy or any other sort of intervention that might be in person, which would be later on that model. Just to sort of put that disclaimer out there. But the creation of this digital community, potentially to increase treatment-seeking behaviors in the future, but also there's been a lot of sort of brewing for how we can take this to the street. or also into the healthcare model, so that that first step in that healthcare model would actually be with a nurse or a health coach who would help you sort of move through the program, and then also have communities of people that you can connect with. And actually, we'll start doing this in January. There'll be, through Google+, we'll be doing live happy hours. So every Friday, coming together to do movement and breath broadcasts live. And then we're encouraging groups to come together and do that. So instead of hitting the bar, they'll come and do some breath and movement. But there's more there that needs to be, discovered.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Amy, I like the way you lay out the content. My question is, how are you thinking about tracking progress and behavioral change and so on?
Yeah. My advisors have been asking me the same thing. Such a good question, because it's difficult in some ways. So on some of the objective measures, we'll be using Mixpanel to sort of track analytics on use of the website. So what they're utilizing, the features that are being utilized, and also, of course, with some qualitative, what they're enjoying, what they found to be most meaningful. As far as outcomes as well, self-compassion is a primary measure that we'll be looking at. Also well-being through the SF-36, perceived stress through the perceived stress scale. Those are the primary ones to start with, and then with a short qualitative piece. And through piloting, and then through a larger study, we might look at a few more outcomes. Serenity, is another one, through the brief serenity scale. Yeah. Great question.
I just wanted a little clarity for myself. So is your goal here that this is just this is sort of open to anyone? Is it for the treatment of a condition or a group of a subset of people who have a particular need? And if that's the case, how are you going to market to that group of people? And so I'm just trying to understand that a little bit.
Yeah. Overall, stress, anxiety, and depression are some primary sort of words that come up with this work. But ultimately, it's working on increasing well-being, self-regulation skills, reducing stress reactivity. It's in many ways a public health first step model intervention. So it does work to be very broad. And there's sort of the good and bad with that, because it's not niched down, as we were talking about niching. But that's hopefully what will happen after more evaluation, more rigorous evaluation, to identify, okay, now where can we take it to a different population? So when we start working with returning soldiers, then looking more at their needs and specifying the content and the interactions to suit what exactly that they need on a level 2 sort of step care model.
Yeah, I really like the way it's set up and the feel of it. One of the ideas that has been percolated in my mind is this idea of a customizable, I call it compassion gymnasium, but really what I could see is whereby you actually have the tools up front that says they go through a profiling that sort of then creates a customized program that addresses the issues that they're struggling with. And then I think it becomes really exciting and maybe even more sticky because it's made for them. And then the other thing you have to do, though, I would think, is you have to include components that will keep them there.
Yes.
And whether it's a community, whether it's a competition or a competition with self, where you're either comparing or you're showing them, if you will, how they're doing or how strong you're getting. I think that is very powerful.
Yeah, and you kind of named my dream, to be able to tailor this and to have it be customizable for the user so that they experience their own, what is it exactly that I need, and then to have sort of like the buffet of options to create their own healing trajectory. I had another one, but we'll stop there. Yeah.
You're doing fine, don't
I had another thought. That was all right. I'll tell you later. But yeah, thank you. Absolutely.
Great, and thank you, Amy, very much. So our next presenter is Sam Reese, who is a senior at Crossroads High School in Santa Monica. And as a high school senior, he's already built homes in Tanzania, funded and sponsored funding the soccer program, or a soccer program for orphans in Rwanda. So this is a very busy young man. And today he's going to talk about Exchange the World, Growing Compassion in the Digital Age. Sam, welcome.
Thank you very much. I'd like to start by thanking Dr. Dodi, Dr. Sapala, Mahim Akhtar, and everybody with the CCARE team for putting together this incredible event. I'm so honored to be here. I would like to start by referencing a few quotes which I feel can serve as an appropriate introduction to the work that I've been doing with Exchange the World. The first comes from The Wayfinders, which is a book by one of my inspirations, the culture anthropologist Wade Davis. And Wade Davis writes that the world in which you were born is just one model of reality, and that other cultures are not failed attempts at being you, but they are rather unique manifestations of the human spirit. And the second quote comes from His Holiness the Dalai Lama, from his infinitely insightful handbook on how to be compassionate. And he writes that, in a sense, all human beings belong to a single family. We need to embrace the oneness of humanity and show concern for everyone, not just my family, my culture, my continent. Differences of religion, ideology, race, economic system, social system, and government are all secondary. And I understand what many of you might be thinking, that these two ideas are inherently contradictory, that Davis asks us to appreciate the differences in all of us, our inherent uniqueness, to notice the differences in us than you and a person across the world, while His Holiness asks us to appreciate our inherent similarities. But rather than antitheses, I would argue that these are rather building blocks, stepping stones to become a globally compassionate citizen. And I believe that in order to foster a more globally compassionate society, we must first come face to face with the different manifestations of the human spirit that Davis references. And that once we've done so, once we've strived to understand the other ways of living and the other ways of human beings, of being human, then we can finally come to terms with the single human spirit, the single human family, and then we can become globally compassionate. And I'm going to tell a little bit about my story. The summer of 2011, I was given the opportunity to travel through Southeast Asia, from the hills of Burma through the luminescent streets of Luang Prabang, interviewing young men and women who had been marginalized by different societal and cultural factors. So we talked to young men and women who had AIDS, whose parents had AIDS, who were working in the sex industry, different people who had been marginalized by different things. And in these travels, I met a young man named Bao, and there's a photo of me talking to Bao. And Bao was from Burma, but when he was 3, his village was bombed and he was forced to flee across the Thai border. And he grew up in abject poverty, little to no clean water, no access to healthcare, no education. But when he was 15, after he'd had a little bit of secondary education, a group of American students came to live in his village. And in these 3 months, in the summer that they were there, he was able to pick up the colloquialisms of English. He was able to get a grasp of the English language that he never had before. And by doing so, he's been able to have a high paying job in the vocational trade. And we talked about his life, his culture, the different ways that he sees the world and how they were different from the way that I see the world. Can we play this video? And so Bao was telling me about this huge Aka swing festival that the Aka people have every single year. And so the Aka people, they build these giant swings inside of their villages, and they literally swing for freedom. And I was talking about my culture and how we celebrate Hanukkah and the different things that we do. And more than his struggles or his ability to overcome them, we talked about our traditions, our similarities, the different ways that we are human. And I returned back to Los Angeles, and I saw a lot of this. And I noticed a culture that was so profoundly, in its one way of life, the American way of life, that it was, they were unable to come to terms with the other manifestations of the human spirit like I had. And I recognized that my peers, for lack of an original term, had never had the experience that I had to come face to face with other manifestations of the human spirit. And I was looking at a world where we were just growing closer and closer together, and I was realizing that a sense of global compassion and a sense of global understanding is becoming increasingly necessary in today's day and age. And I thought back to Bao and remembered how impactful a sense of English education was on him. And I looked around at my peers who were so consumed by Justin Bieber and Facebook and AIM, and I thought that I could create a bridge between the two cultures, a bridge between the students in America and the students in the developing world. And for me, this bridge has manifested as Exchange the World, my organization, which connects students from Nepal, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam, Kenya, Tanzania, and the Democratic Republic of Congo with students from across America, colleges, and high schools. And these students exchange with each other once a week through an online educational platform where they can Skype each other and then also engage with a few textbook pages. So if the students, like our students in Cambodia, Thailand, and Tanzania, if their English level is low, they will do a basic English curriculum. They will talk about, what do you like? I like soccer. What are your favorite sports? And go through basic grammar and vocab. However, for some of our more advanced students, we've adapted a form of the Speak Truth to Power curriculum from the RFK Center of Human Rights. So these students talk about specific defenders in history, like Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Congressman John Lewis from Alabama. And the American students, instead of straight ESL learning, the American students guide the students from the developing world through advanced reading comprehension and analysis on these characters' lives and the way that they have impacted history. And after the, okay, and so here's an example of the technology that we use. This is WizIQ, so you can see how it is perfectly lined up for our needs. The students can Skype with each other. I didn't actually have anyone on the line there, but they will run through an ESL textbook or the human rights curriculum. They can draw on it, they can type on it, they can chat. And my favorite feature is that you can use the actual arrow to guide the learning student through the textbook pages. But after you've talked about textbooks for 30 minutes, for 40 minutes, the exchanges become really, really, really cool. Afterwards, the students talk about their cultures, their lives, their family, the Aka Swing Festival, the ways that they see the world. And this brings, while the textbook study brings very tangible things to the students, both in the developing world and here, by giving them tangible access to education and also a chance to be a teacher, as I will show you in the next video, what happens afterwards is a real special part of Exchange the World.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, bud, how are you?
Hi. Hello, Sarah. Hi, Kimla. How are you?
Growing up in West LA, there's definitely a bubble that comes with it, in that it's fairly homogenous, our routines, and there's kind of a lack of outside culture. And I think through these exchanges, I've personally been able to really get a new perspective on what's outside and what's out there and how different these lives are.
We catch up on what's happened in the past week. I always ask her if she has any stories to tell me, and she usually has a few.
Sarah is very nice, pretty, and she always helps me when I have problems.
Kimla and I don't really have much in common, but that sort of feeds into our friendship because we get to learn about each other, and then that forms a deeper understanding and a deeper bond.
I talk to Sarah every Sunday for 2 hours, or sometimes it's over 3 hours. I love her so much.
I've been exchanging with Kana every Sunday. There was one time that we were exchanging and we were talking, and then my cat kind of jumped onto the bed and then started running all over the keyboard, and I'm like, no, and I like pushed the cat away, and like all the windows X'd out, and she was laughing, she goes, oh my God, a cat! And I thought she kind of ran away. And then she comes back holding this adorable, big, fat, white tabby cat with like a little brown markings all over her face. So we're talking about her cat for like 20 minutes. And she was saying, oh, he's so fat, and he meows all through the night, and he jumps all over our homework. And I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly like my cat. And then I was like, wow, Cambodian cats are exactly like American cats. And I was like, you know what, that's so strange. I never thought of it that way. The cats are the same, and the people are the same.
So as these students show, as Ryan and Sarah, the first two speakers show, there's a way through these exchanges that you understand that people are different, that they see the world in a different way than you do. But after that, there's another level of understanding, as Anna showed in the end, that though they're different, though they have different routines, though they perceive the world in a slightly different way, we all come from the same human family that the Dalai Lama spoke about in the quote that I said before. And quickly, I know that I have very little time. Oh, okay. Right now, we've looked towards different models of expansion, towards partnering with different organizations to expand on a larger scale. But right now, we would like to expand under our current infrastructure and work with a partner, the GWP Foundation in Nepal. And what's unique about GWP, which provides for the socioeconomic empowerment of women across Nepal, is that they have 5 different locations through the hills of Nepal. And all of the different organizations that we've worked with have their location centers. All of the 5 computers are in one place. And what's unique about Nepal is that if we were to bring 5 computers and internet to their 5 different locations, that this would open up the opportunity to these 3 girls, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that city's name, Chandragirpur. And so we would be able to open up the opportunities to 15 students originally with just 5 computers, and then 30 students there and 30 students here just by bringing 10 computers. In the future, I would like to partner with maybe the Aga Khan schools in Kenya or another larger umbrella organization to expand on a much larger scale. I would like to finish with another quote from the Dalai Lama, from the same handbook, in which he states that it is time for us all to begin to transcend the differences of race, culture, ideology, in order to regard each other with appreciation for our common human situation. As Wade says, our common human spirit. And I believe that if we continue to build these friendships, continue to build these connections, that eventually we will be able to transcend these differences and help the youth of the 21st century become globally compassionate and eventually exchange the world.
So where are you going to college?
I still in the application process, so it's still
Well, let us know.
early December. So I've applied to Stanford. So we will see.
So one of the questions that I have is, I mean, it seems like an awesome idea.
Thank you.
And incredible. And I think, you probably traveled much more, Premal, but it's hard to get internet access in Kigali or Rwanda or Nigeria. And so I think, but I think eventually that's going to change, right? That more kids will have access. And I guess the question is who else is doing this? Is this kind of your idea that is growing in you, or is there somebody else who's already developing this that would be better to partner with, or to what does the field look like? Because I think somebody should totally be doing this, and I just wonder if you could speak to where you're at versus where other efforts are at.
Yeah, so a lot of organizations that I was looking at when I was developing the program, like the Global Nomads Group, work with classroom-to-classroom models. So the Global Nomads Group, GNG, amazing organization, works connecting classrooms throughout the United States with classrooms in Afghanistan, throughout the Middle East, through war-torn areas, connecting kids on a 20-student to 10-student, 30-student to 50-student way. And the thing that really compelled me to action when I was in sophomore year was that there was no existing infrastructure to connect kids on a one-on-one scale. And I've been working with this kid, Rex Lewis Clack, who's an autistic musical savant for the last 6 years. And we've developed this incredible one-on-one friendship together just by hanging out, just us two. And so I realized that I wanted to create an infrastructure to allow for these similar one-on-one friendships to develop using technology. So while there's things like GNG, there's a few others that connect classrooms through this pedagogical lens. What I've been aiming to do and what I hope to expand to in the future is to create an infrastructure where a kid like me in Los Angeles or a kid in DC can connect one-on-one and develop these friendships that you saw with another kid that's around their age.
Great, thanks.
Sam, how do you see yourself 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I'm hoping to exchange the world into college. I mean, we started about a year ago with our first program connecting 5 kids in Thailand with 5 kids from my school. So we've grown, I don't know what % that is, but we've added over 100 kids since then in the last year. So I'm hoping to be able to partner with maybe the Aga Khan schools or Invisible Children or another umbrella organization in order to exchange the world to hundreds, thousands more children. And I'm hoping to be leading that or a similar effort after I graduate college. But I want to get education first. It's important.
Is he hired?
All right.
So I was struck by the example, the first video you showed of the interaction, where the person from, I forget which country it was, but she said that she really, really loves her new
Cambodia.
friend.
Yeah,
Cambodia?
Yeah, from Cambodia.
And part of me wondered whether like what would happen if her new friend got too busy and went off to college and didn't have time anymore? Is there a way to make sure that this is sustainable so that there's long-term commitments and these friendships are more potential? I don't know what I'm saying, except for I'm thinking about the potential of them getting bored, the American kids.
Well, when an American student comes into exchange the world, there's a commitment that they're going to be in the organization for 6 months. So in 6 months, you're doing it every single week. That's 24 times that you're spending at least an hour talking to another person.
Okay, so they're making a commitment.
They're making a commitment when they sign up. Yeah, they're not going to leave after 3 weeks.
Are they treating it like it's a volunteer job? Is that how it works?
I wouldn't like to say that it's a job because
Volunteer
I've seen that
position?
almost every single kid that's exchanged after 2 months regards the person that they're talking to as one of their best friends in the entire world. So I wouldn't, it's like all friendships. It's like all friendships, some will go, some will come, some will go. But there is an initial commitment to stay with the person that you're talking to for an amount of time. But after that, if you guys aren't connecting very well, if there's a problem, just like in all friendships, things will last, some things won't. So I'm not sure if there's any specific way that we can force the friendships to last longer than a certain amount of time.
No, I'm not saying to force it, but I'm saying that there's a structural inequality set up already, and I'm just wondering how to protect the person who's in a lower income situation. For example, thinking of big brothers and big sisters, and how if the big brother just dropped their little brother, that would be devastating. And I don't know exactly what the dynamics are because I haven't really seen this or thought about it too much, but I'm just wondering if there's some way to anticipate that structural inequality might play a role into the friendships.
I mean, the cool thing about to address the first point, the cool way that the lessons and the exchanges are developed is that there's never really conversations about these inequalities, and it sort of strays away from that. When it gets into that, the American student is conscientious enough to sort of steer it away from that. But if the Thai student is asking about the house that you live in or something like that, it's important to let them know and tell them about the life that you're living. But in terms of as you're saying, the big brother's dropping out and leaving the other person with no big brother, the way that we've worked is we have chapter directors in each of the American schools. And the chapter directors pick the students that they know will stay to the commitments, and they make a commitment then to stay with the organization for 6 months. And so far it's been 100. I mean, we don't have any statistics, but 100% of the students. There's never been a case where a student has dropped out from their commitment with the person that they're exchanging with so far.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is maybe you should anticipate that there will be, and what you do proactively in that situation to have a plan for it, so that it can minimize harm on all sides.
I mean, what I would say is maybe a person would sort of fill in, that there would be a 6th or a 7th alternate that would take the place of the person. I mean, we've had examples where there have been people that have taken the place of another person when the two people haven't been getting along, but there's never been a case where a student has been abandoned. There's always been someone to fill back in or to take the place. There's always been, if a student makes a commitment to a 6-month exchange, we will find a way to make sure that the kid in Thailand has someone to talk to for 6 months.
Good answer.
Sam, thank you very much. I'm just sitting here with 2 kids in high school thinking I've underperformed as a parent. Very impressive. So our last presenter is Enrique Solis, and Enrique is an associate research specialist at the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds at the Weizmann Center at University of Wisconsin at Madison. And he's going to talk about something called Crystals of Cador, a potential tool for training pro-social behavior. Enrique, welcome.
I'm the project manager for a study called the Games and Wellbeing Study at the Center for Investigating Healthy Minds. As part of the study, we created an iOS video game as an intervention tool for training pro-social behavior within adolescents. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today. So mobile devices are really prolific. You can find one everywhere. I mean, one of the earlier presenters asked everybody, if you have a smartphone, raise your hand. So most of they're really engaging devices, and kids spend a lot of time on them. The most common form of entertainment is probably going to be video games. The Kaiser Foundation, in a 2009 survey, found that kids spend over an hour every day playing video games. But what kind of video games are these kids playing? They're playing the games that feature a lot of violence, aggression, and in-group behavior. The more popular blockbuster games are Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Grand Theft Auto. These games really engage the kids' attention, but they don't do they don't engage the attention in a meaningful or impactful way. So what we did with our study was we decided, well, what if we could design a game that could? And that's what we did with Crystals of Kador. We designed Crystals of Kador from the ground up to be a video game that trained compassion and empathy in a way that didn't feel like teaching, but engaged the kids' attention and had a meaningful impact on their learning and behavior. To do this, we worked with video game developers at UW-Madison, looked at the psychological research, and developed game mechanics and embedded it within this game in a way that was really meant to be fun and interesting for kids while still having an impact. So now I'm going to show you a trailer for Crystals of Kador that just kind of highlights the game mechanics, and then after that I'll go into the details of what the specific game mechanics are.
When sentient life is detected on the distant planet Kador, a spacecraft containing 4 robotic explorers is sent to investigate. Their primary mission will be to study the alien culture through the interpretation of basic emotions. Leaving behind its own solar system, the spacecraft begins its long journey to the planet Kador.
Thank you. So one of the core game mechanics within Crystals of Kador is emotion recognition. The research has shown that emotion recognition is really a key prerequisite to building empathy or compassion. If you can't recognize that another person is in distress, you can't act upon it in a way that's compassionate. So whenever the player or the robot comes across an alien life form, the first thing that they have to do is identify the particular emotion that the alien is expressing. The aliens within the game all express one of the 6 universal emotions. These 6 emotions are based on the work of Paul Ekman. He found that regardless of, across all cultures, people could identify they could identify happiness, surprise, disgust, fear, sadness, or anger, regardless of language or culture. As far as for building the alien life form expressions, we worked with a team of animators and used Paul Ekman's work to create these really lifelike facial expressions. After the player correctly identifies the emotion, we ask them to calibrate or identify the intensity of the emotion. And that's because in everyday interactions, everyone has a different varying level of intensity as far as how they express a particular emotion. My level of intensity for happiness may be more or less than someone else. And so within this game mechanic, as you saw in the video, the player sees on the left side an animated alien life form, and on the right, the player has to track the intensity of the emotion of what they're seeing on the video on the left. Once the player correctly identifies the intensity of the emotion, it unlocks cooperative missions within the game. These are some of the missions that we have within the gameplay. The player is asked to find gifts for a birthday party, gather ingredients, repair broken items, or teach aliens cooperative play. Within that last particular mission, the player comes across 3 aliens. 2 of them are passing a ball back and forth. They're excluding a 3rd alien, and the player intervenes and teaches them how to pass the ball and cooperatively and play among all 3 of them. What really makes Crystals stand out is the approach that we've taken for designing the game. From the beginning, it's been a research and iterative design approach. It's meant to be an intervention tool. We're doing pre and post data collection. We're collecting neuroimaging data before and after the gameplay to see if there are any changes within the brain. We're also collecting measures of empathic accuracy using the work from Dr. Jamil Zaki. We also have in lab measures of emotion recognition. We're also collecting parents' reports of the child's behavior to see if playing the game can actually change the child's behavior outside of the lab. We're also measuring helping behavior using behavioral economic measures. One thing that's not up there is that we're also collecting the telemetry data as far as all the mouse clicks and the positioning of the player within the game, as far as we can tell like where exactly they're going within the game, where they're spending the most time. Initially, we were collecting too much data that it was crashing our analysis program, so we had to scale back. As far as designing the game, we really reached out to experts in the field to get feedback. We worked with experts in content experts and video game developers, like here on the slide. We worked with Mathieu Ricard, and his feedback was critical in developing the missions and how the players interacted with the alien life forms. One of the other things that we really did to make this game really engaging and have high appeal to kids was we did a lot of focus group testing. Throughout the entire process, we probably ran over 600 kids through our focus groups. There's not one single part of the game where we haven't gotten feedback from the kids, whether it's the font, the logo, the avatar, or just the color of the crystals within the game. And in general, the feedback has been really good. These are just some of the comments that we have from kids after they've completed the study. We asked them what they thought about the game or what the purpose of the game was. And they said it's fun, it's an interesting adventure game, or that you go around helping an alien community to build trust. One of the more inspiring stories, I had a parent come up to me and tell me that she was really excited that her child had been assigned Crystals of Cador. And what she told me was that the 2 parents were going through a divorce, and the child or the subject was trying to play it off as everything was okay, but she was really under a lot of distress. But it wasn't coming out in her family interactions, but it was coming out in her interactions with her friends. And she didn't know why she was angry or upset. The child didn't. And then once she played Crystals of Cador, she had this epiphany where that she realized that she could look at people and she realized that she could tell, like, well, maybe that person's acting sad or angry because of something else, and that she could look to them to see what they were feeling. And it was really eye-opening for her, and it just kind of changed the way that she was looking at the world. As far as the future directions where we could take Crystals of Cador, it could be potentially used as an emotion training tool for target populations, like people with Asperger's or autism spectrum disorder. We're also considering looking at using it as an in-classroom teaching tool, because traditional education doesn't normally teach prosocial behavior. As far as if we were fortunate enough to win, because we've developed this as a research tool, the promotion and awareness has been really minimal. When we would use the money for marketing and really to increase public awareness and get this out there to the public. And that's all I have. And I wouldn't be here in front of you without all of these people. It really took an entire team to put this entire project together, and I just want to say thank you.
Enrique, do you have any data or even preliminary data on the effect of this game?
We do have some preliminary data, and it looks promising, but it's not anything that we're ready to show to the public. I mean, we want to be certain before.
Oh, okay. Let me ask, as a layperson, does this game help with empathy and compassion?
So far, and I guess I would qualify this, so far it seems that there are trend level effects. We're still in the process of collecting the data. We're replicating one of the measures that we've replicated a task from Jamil Zaki, and from the trend level effects, it looks like we're replicating the same things, and there are differences between Crystals of Cador and the control game.
And in terms of you had the chart with the funding, so the game can be played, it's all ready to go, and basically the support you're needing is just getting out word for people to play it for free, or do they pay for it, or how does that?
The game is finished. We're currently using it as a research tool. We're waiting until we finish the end of data collection and we look at the data before we release it to the public. We don't want to release the game and say that it does have an effect without knowing definitively that there is a change in behavior.
Well, I would just say, I mean, there doesn't seem to be much interest other than to get children addicted to like Call of Duty. So I'm not quite sure why we would wait. That no effect. Right. I mean, it's a much better use of your time, I think. So.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have one point, and it's sort of a technical point, just from my similar background trying to create interventions to increase compassion. So one of the things that we've discovered in a recent paper is that people can be good at emotion recognition if they're empathic, but also if they're narcissistic. So you can have different reasons to recognize other people's emotions or to take people's perspectives and even to help people because it makes you look good, and maybe sometimes people might do it to manipulate. And when I first presented my empathy text messaging results to Dan Batson, he was just very skeptical and said, "You're just creating social manipulators." So I'm wondering, I think there's an easy solution here in terms of measurement, but I'm wondering if you're doing anything to measure motivation or what the reasons why people are helping rather than just the skill-based level.
I'm trying to think of all the different measures that we're collecting.
Sorry, that's a tough question, but I guess it's just it's worth looking at because I think that's an easy, at least from a scientific perspective, that's an easy question you're going to get from reviewers and other skeptical people like Batson. And it's good to think about it in advance, I think.
Well, I mean, initially we did consider like collecting the big five, but for collecting narcissism, but we're collecting, I think it's 13 to 15 hours of data. We have the subjects in our lab coming in for 3 different visits, and we just had to scale back.
Yeah.
Okay, Rick, thank you very much. Thank you. So that wraps up the presentations from our presenters, and I want to just take a minute to all of you and say thank you so much for coming and giving us your time and your energy. Thank you. And those folks will be here, as well as the honorable mention nominees who have exhibits out in the break area there. I'm going to retire with this austere group for about 25 or 30 minutes and gather up feedback, and we'll be back here I'll be doing that in 20 minutes, and we'll be back here in 4:30. So we'll be back in 20 minutes, so 4:30. Thank you.